Other person puts $999 into a savings account or they invest it for the future. Their present is probably not going to be very good because they're not going to be able to go out with friends and they're not going to have a nice car if that's something they value, and they're not going to be able to go out to dinners and that type of stuff. They're probably not going to live somewhere super nice. Somewhere in the middle is probably the sweet spot. You just have to figure out what your unique middle is.
Her father says every day you got to eat at least one shit sandwich. And what he means is you got to do something you hate at least once a day. And whatever that thing is for you, your future self will thank you. And there's no one on earth who doesn't hate at least one of the tasks that they've got to do on a consistent basis in order to achieve their dreams.
Next Level Nation, welcome back to another episode of Next Level University, where we help you level up your life, your love, your health, and your wealth. We hope you enjoyed yesterday's episode number 1638, One Type of Person to Avoid. Today, for episode number 1639, what does current you thank past you for? There's a reason we're doing this episode. So Alan and I just spent the last 9.5 hours working on our presentation for Next Level Live 2024. And it is a whole thing. There's 105 slides, I think.
Best content you and
Best
I have
content
ever co-created.
For sure. Alan's
Definitely
under the weather on his way back to well-being. I feel okay. I'm definitely losing my voice because I couldn't do when I do the intro, there's inflections I can do with my voice. Not happening tonight. I couldn't do it if I tried. So we're working through it. But that's also why I wanted to do this episode, because I saw a quote one time where, again, it's one of those layer one quotes where it sounds really good on a bumper sticker, but deeper practice is challenging. And the quote was something along the lines of 5 years from today, or 5 years are going to go by anyway. You might as well do what you love and work on what you love and struggle through and make some progress towards your goals in the next 5 years. And logically, makes sense. It's like, well, yeah, in 5 years from today, I'll be 39. Is that how old I am? Yeah. A lot is going to change between now and when I'm 39, but it might as well be the stuff that I want to change through hard work and consistency and all that. But it's really hard to emotionally go through that. But that's why when you make it through something, it's so important to look back. And you know me, whether you watch or listen, I'm so big on reflection. Reflection is one of the things that has got me through so many times. And as I mentioned on a previous episode, I was watching on YouTube the episode where we picked up Isabella Picard. We drove down to New Jersey and we did an interview with Eric LeGrand and Bella. And I remember that was 40 episodes in. That wasn't that long. If you think about it, 40 episodes is not that many episodes. Right now, that's 5 weeks for us.
Yeah.
At the time, it was a year and a half because I had started in 2017, then we partnered in 2018. But I remember getting home that night, and my buddies were at my place, and I don't know if they knew where I went, but they're like, where were you today? Like, what did you do? And I said, we went to New Jersey and we interviewed Eric LeGrand with Bella. And they were like, holy shit, dude. What? Like, that's what you did today? And I was like, yeah, isn't that awesome? And they're like, yeah, you guys must be like really going places. And I don't know what I said at the time. Maybe. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens. But there were so many times that I didn't know if I was going to make it. I didn't know how to get to the end of the week. I didn't know how to get to the end of the month. I didn't know how to get to the end of the year. I didn't know how to pay off this debt. I didn't know how to make money here. I didn't know if I was going to find a partner. I didn't know any of those things. And at the time, it's almost like you have such a short view that you can really only see the problem in front of you, but you can't see the pleasure on the other side of the problem if you overcome it. And then eventually you look back and you just say, what is the difference in where I am today versus where I would have been? All of the times I wanted to stop and I wanted to quit and I wanted to pack it up, I just tried to get through that. And then eventually another thing presents itself, and I just tried to get through that, and I tried to get through that, and I tried to get through that. And that's kind of really what it's been for the last 7 years. But every time you get through it, the next level, it's a little bit more positive. Right now, you and I are very overwhelmed, and we're spread thin, and it's a challenge. But I wouldn't trade the challenges we have today for the challenges I had 6 years ago. I'm certain of that.
Same.
I'm certain of that. So my current me thanks past me for just keeping going. When times were rough, when it sucked, when I didn't know if I was going to make it, I just tried to do one more day. Like, let me just get tomorrow. Let me get to tomorrow. Let me get to tomorrow. That's my early next level nugget. And here's part 2. If there's any part of you that's afraid, that feels like it's arrogant to take pride in something you've done from yourself or for yourself, that's a good piece of work right there to practice. I know it might sound strange to say, today, Kevin is grateful for 7 years ago or 6 years ago or 5 years ago, but if you're putting in the work and you're chasing your dreams and you're getting better and you're looking in the mirrors and you're practicing self-awareness and you're working on your ego, you deserve it. You deserve to give yourself a little bit of credit, because I know that unfortunately you might not be getting it externally from other people, and sometimes you got to give yourself a pat on the back. So that's my goal in today's episode.
A couple things before I add to that, Kev. Number one, I have a cough drop in, and I was debating whether or not to have the cough drop in or to cough a bunch on the microphone, so I decided to go with the cough drop. So I ask for grace on that. Secondly, we were talking earlier about future self versus present self, and how present self wants to eat food and enjoy the moment and be present and have R&R and quality time or whatever it is. Future self sometimes wants you to do the workout, wants you to record the episode at 8:30 at night, finish the presentation early, practice the presentation early, stick with writing so that one day you do have a book and that's your dream. Whatever it is, insert future goal. And Kevin and I were talking before this episode, one of the reasons I got sick, so this is the first time I've been sick in 9 years. And it's actually been interesting because Emilia and I have been together almost 5 years now, so this October will be year 5-year anniversary. And she is realizing, like, I've never seen you sick before. I've got this whole care package. I've got cough drops. I've got a trash barrel next to me. I've got Vicks Vapor Rub I've been using all day. I actually feel reasonable right now, even though this morning I felt terrible. But my point is that I overdid it, and I didn't realize until after I burnt down how much I was super productive. It's very difficult when you're on the treadmill to realize how fast you're going until you get off and you can't run that fast anymore, and you're like, whoa, I was really crushing. I was really dialed in. I was looking back at my calendar. And again, that's the perspective. So you look back, Kevin, you say, thank you so much for getting through. I look back and go, whoa, I can't believe how much we've accomplished and the way in which we can operate. But I overly chose future self. A lot of what was on my calendar when I looked back was for the future. It was all things that were grind now, pay now, and enjoy the benefits of the compound effect of those positive choices later. One example would be coming up on, we surpassed our 2nd year in a row of daily exercise. Now, the reason I burnt out is because I overly focused on future self at the expense of present self too much and too long. And that is my tendency. That's a mistake that I make. This is not the first time I've burned down, although this is the first time I've gotten sick in 9 years. But I've definitely had burnout several times. Different flavors, capacities. But I've also been on the other end in the past, prior to 26, my car accident at 26, where I was focusing on present self over future self. Alcohol was a perfect example of that. I would drink now, pay for it the next day when I was hungover, or when my self-esteem would be hit because I failed again at not drinking. And so I remember working for a company called Sensata Technologies, and every single day I would drive home past Lenny's Liquors, and I would get a vodka. And that was just a really dark time for me. But that was always choosing present self over future self.
Yeah.
And you're going to pay. It's almost like if you're overly focused on present self at the expense of your future self, that's going to be detrimental and you'll have regret. But if you overly focus on future self at the expense of taking care of your present self, you'll get sick. You won't, your relationship might burn down. Your health won't be great. Maybe you didn't get good sleep, whatever. And so how do you constantly understand, okay, am I prioritizing my present self too much at the expense of my future? Excuse me. Or am I focusing way too much on the future, 5, 10, 15, 20 years from now, even a year from now, at the expense of my own self-care?
You might be feeling this tonight the way I am. I don't know. But I've been saying I want some sort of fast food. I don't want to be, by the time we finish, it's going to be 8:45 at least, closer to 9. And again, we chose this. This is privileged pressure, so I'm not complaining about that. But I don't want to have to cook something. I want some form of fast food. That becomes layer 1. Then layer 2 is I don't want to go to bed right away.
Right.
I've been working all day. I don't want to just finish, eat, and then go to bed. I want to stay up.
Right.
But then it's, well, how much is that going to affect tomorrow? How much is that going to affect future Kev? And then I think, well, I wanted to go to jiu-jitsu in the morning. Jiu-jitsu's at 8:30. So I have to be up by at least, the latest I can get up tomorrow and get all my stuff done is 7 a.m. I could probably do 6, depending on when I go to bed. And then I start reverse engineering. Well, what does that look like? Well, am I going to go to bed at 11 and get 7 hours of sleep? That's not terrible. But do I need more than that? Probably. But Wednesday's a slow day, so it's not that big of a deal. So I think it's a constant juggling act of, yeah, you don't really need that right now. Or, you don't really need to hit the goal weight that you wanted exactly 13 days from today. Live a little. It's that juggling act. It's that constant juggling act of what really matters to you. Fitness matters more to you than it does to me. I'm not exercising after this. I'm going to exercise my right to go to Burger King. But I'm not exercising because that's not as important to me as it is to you. It's more of a core value for you than it is. And I don't know, I won't regret it tomorrow. Now.
Yeah, you might regret it the other way.
I could. I've experienced that. I've had times over the past week, I've been kind of under the weather too, and I've made myself not exercise. Because I said, I think I'll regret if I go, and then if I wake up tomorrow and I feel worse, I probably won't be happy with myself. So this is really, it's kind of a constant juggling act, but it really depends on self-awareness. It depends on how well you know yourself, and then just to tie it back to what I opened with, what I'm most grateful for, what I'm most thankful for, what I'm most proud of, if you want to use that word, is all the days. If you know someone who just doesn't really enjoy their career, they don't like it, it's a 5 out of 10 for them. It's a take it or leave it. I don't enjoy it. I want to do something else, but it's whatever. I'll keep doing it. I would say there were days that were like 1s out of 10s where I was thinking, I don't know if I can even do this. This isn't sustainable, all that. But those days, as they got better and better, it was a 2, and then it was a 3, and then it was a 4, and it was a 5. And now even the days that are really, really challenging, like today's still like a 7 out of 10. And the events coming up, yeah, that's super stressful. But some of the teams coming in, those are 10 out of 10s, even though they're stressful and overwhelming. So I'd rather dig a bunch of 1s and 2s and 3s, knowing eventually that it's going to be 7, 8s, and 9s, than do a consistent 5 forever. Now, you're listening to this, so I'm assuming dream chasing for you means continuing to elevate that number. Sometimes that means you're going to be on the lower half for a long period of time, and the 2 goes to a 2.5, and then a 3.5, and a 4.5, and a 5.5. But that's why a lot of people will look at you and they're going to, I hope they don't, but they might villainize you. Because for years and years, you were dream chasing and you were putting in time, energy, effort, and focus, but nobody saw it. while everybody else was going and making consistent money and having health insurance and having a 401k and having benefits and being able to go on vacation. But eventually that pivots and that switches. I think you'll be very grateful / thankful for that, as long as that's what you really want. You might look back and say, I'm grateful I went down the path less followed, even though it was lonely and it was cold and I was hungry and all those things. But eventually it got to the place where I'm still down the path less followed, but I have the benefits and the upsides that a lot of other people don't. That's what I want for everybody when they're dream chasing, if that's part of the dream.
NLU listener, what is happening? I just wanted to jump in here and let you know, if you want to get to the next level faster, we have a free virtual monthly meetup at the first Thursday of every month, 6 p.m. Eastern Time. You can connect with like-minded people and become a bigger part of this amazing global community. The link to register will be in the show notes.
Well, I don't know if you can be truly proud of yourself from a non-ego place if you're not doing anything hard. And again, hard is relative, but it's the hard that makes it great. So if this was an easy journey, why wouldn't everyone just have a podcast that was super successful? And then would it be meaningful if everyone did?
No.
Yeah, I think that's one thing that is really fascinating is, and I talked about the movies, award ceremony at the beginning, award ceremony at the end, all success in the middle, boring movie. And then the second one is all struggle, all failure, all tragedy, no success whatsoever, beginning, middle, end. And both of those movies are just boring and they're not meaningful. And the meaningful movies are usually start with tragedy, create a sort of hero that needs to answer the call and step up to whatever villain is or tragedy is there. And then there's growth. There's a growth journey. There's an expansion of who you are, and then there's a triumph, and you eventually succeed, and it's a meaningful journey, but it's always through adversity. And one tiny example that I think came up for me, I actually understand now why this burn down happened. It's obvious in hindsight. Most things are obvious in hindsight. My word for 2024. So everyone in the NLU team has a word for 2024. Mine was proactive. It might as well be a word, and I have it written on my whiteboard up here in the upper right-hand corner of my whiteboard every single day. It says proactive, and I've been super proactive. This event, I've been way more proactive than in the past. But here's the problem. That word might as well be pick your future self over your present self. And I've been doing that so much that I got sick. Holy crap, right? So there's a downside with every upside, and there's an upside with every downside, and you kind of have to learn these lessons sometimes the hard way. I didn't know this was going to happen. I thought I was fine. I thought I was good to go. And all of a sudden I feel terrible, and it's just like, holy crap, this really hit me. Now, again, in perspective, it's not like there are infinitely worse illnesses that I could have. So I need to put that in perspective, of course. But after going 9 years, very, very, very healthy, very, very grateful for that. It's definitely perspective building to be down and out for a little while. And the last piece that I'll share is yesterday, the last thing that I wanted to do was go to the gym. Emilia and I, it's late on a Sunday. We had a long day. And we're supposed to weight train together. We were supposed to do push, which is chest, triceps, and shoulders. And I was like, okay, I got this. She's like, are you sure? I'm like, yep, I'm going. And I remember I got out of the car and I was just like, I was all dizzy. I was like, oh my God, if I was ever not to go to the gym, it would be right now. And normally I go in with her, we crank and we set a timer and we go. We're gym partners. I went to the bathroom by myself and I was like, looked in the mirror, like, can I do this? Splash water on my face. And I ended up saying, you know what? I'm not weight training. I'm going to go on the elliptical. So I went on the elliptical for, I think, 20 minutes, and I watched Harry Potter. So this is why I'm bringing this up. I love movies. I grew up with the Harry Potter movies. I love them. And I wanted to watch that. Like, normally I listen to a book when I'm doing cardio. And I was like, nope. I'm choosing present self. Yeah. I'm watching Harry Potter. I do not care. And I'm doing the elliptical, and I'm doing it on easy mode. And 20 minutes in, I'm like, you know what? I'm feeling better. Let's go. I'm rocking and rolling. Let's do this. And then I was like, you know what? That Stairmaster. I'm going to go do that Stairmaster. There was someone on it, and they got off, and I was like, and then all of a sudden, the part of me that wants my future self was like, come on, Alan, what are we doing? We just watch Harry Potter on the elliptical? Let's go, right? Get on that effing Stairmaster. My inner dialogue is very kind. So anyways, I get on there, and then I'm about 4.5 minutes into the Stairmaster on a pretty easy level, too. It's not like this thing's cranking. Still watching Harry Potter, and at this point, my glasses are falling off because I'm sweating profusely. And I had that moment of, oh, okay, present self is taking a hit on this. This was a mistake. And I either get off or I power through. And luckily, I checked my phone. I was like, I have 4 minutes and 30 seconds. Like, I'm going to be fine. But there's a way to choose your future self and present self. So I'll give you an example. I do a lot of the kitchen stuff in our house. Emilia's been doing a lot of that lately because of the event. But I'll listen to a movie instead of a book while doing the dishes, while I'll just throw on Jurassic Park in the background or whatever. Insert kid movie that I saw as a kid that is nostalgic for me. And I'll just listen to it. And it's on YouTube. It's on my phone. It's on my AirPods. And I'm just doing dishes and whatever. And so there's a way to meet the needs of your present self while also doing something constructive. And then sometimes, you're right, you just have to grind it out and suck it up. And it sucks. Emilia, her father says, every day you got to eat at least one shit sandwich. And what he means is you got to do something you hate at least once a day. And whatever that thing is for you, your future self will thank you. And there's no one on earth who doesn't hate at least one of the tasks that they've got to do on a consistent basis in order to achieve their dreams.
I listen to music when I do the dishes usually, especially if it's at the end of a long day. I have that moment of you should listen to a book, and I don't want to.
Yeah. And then you choose present self.
I don't want to do the dishes.
Instead of
never
future self.
mind doing the dishes and doing this.
But sometimes you do choose future self.
Yeah.
Right?
Here's the interesting thing. There was a time where I probably went 4 years without ever missing at least 30 minutes of learning a day. At least 4 years. I've definitely missed more in the last year than I did in the previous 4, for sure. But I'm also learning way more than I was on a day-to-day basis through the things that I'm doing. Yeah. And the coaching and the other stuff and the opportunities. So it's just not, it just changed. It just changed. Also, to your point, there was a time where it was all future and I was having panic attacks and anxiety attacks. Okay, let's swing it back. And it's just figuring out. It's figuring out where is the right place to swing. That's it, forever.
Drive
and
to
it
5.
changes. A drive to 5. And it changes as you change. That's the other thing, too. Hard workouts get easier. Workouts in this analogy are just existing as a human. If you're focused on growth and you're chasing your dreams, whatever that means to you, it gets a little bit easier every time. And then you can put more weight on, and then it's hard again, and then it gets a little bit easier, and eventually you get to the place where it's like, okay, this is not getting as easy as fast as it once did. All right, maybe that means we're closer to our potential and things are getting harder, but it's just personal.
Now I know you're talking about weight training.
Yeah. It's personal. It's personal. So just make sure you try to figure out what the middle is. The middle is sustainable. If you're only doing what's good for you in the moment, you're probably hurting your future. If you're only ever doing what's good for your future, the present might suck. Imagine if 2 people, and then this will be my last thing. 2 people. One person makes $1,000 a week. They spend $999 a week. Because they say, well, YOLO, you're only going to live once. There's no point in hanging on to this. Spending $1,000 a week on fun stuff sounds great. But in 15 years, and if you don't have any money, you're going to be riding the struggle bus. Other person puts $999 into a savings account or they invest it for the future. Their present is probably not going to be very good because they're not going to be able to go out with friends and they're not going to have a nice car if that's something they value, and they're not going to be able to go out to dinners and that type of stuff. They're probably not going to live somewhere super nice. Somewhere in the middle is probably the sweet spot. You just have to figure out what your unique middle is. So that's my second next level nugget. What's your next level nugget, sir?
It's the drive to 5, and it changes as you grow. I think as you grow, you are capable of consistently and sustainably putting your future self first more often. And then that pivots. Maybe you get sick. All of a sudden you need more self-care. Now you got to put present self first. This is my next level nugget. You cannot, it's either if you put your future self first in everything, your present self will actually die. You have to eat now. You have to sleep now. You have to take care of your now. You, metaphorically, but also literally, if you neglect full present self, and this is true in business too, I'll just use business as an analogy. If you neglect the present needs of the business will go bankrupt. But if you only ever focus on the now in business and you ignore the future completely, you'll also not innovate and you'll go bankrupt. Mm-hmm. And the same is true for human beings too. So we all have sort of a different drive to 5 here, but you have to constantly redial this in every single day and figure out, and inside are you letting it ride? Are you neglecting your future? We all know. Or are you just completely grind time and you're going to burn out? And you know that too. I did. I just didn't do anything about it. I thought I could push it. So push yourself, but not to the point of injury.
If you have not yet got your tickets to Next Level Live 2024, based on what we did today, it is definitely going to be the best live event we have ever done. And at this point, we've done, I don't know how many, but just super excited. At a moment where I was thinking to myself, Alan, I'm very proud of what we're going to go through. It's going to be a really, really powerful event, and I'm very, very proud, and I'm excited for everybody that will be there. So if you have been waiting to get your virtual ticket, make sure you grab it. If you've been waiting to grab your in-person ticket, make sure you grab it. It's going to be amazing. And again, it's a great opportunity to learn about yourself, self-awareness. It's a great opportunity to meet other people. But there's something about doing something that scares you in the moment that you'll thank yourself for in the future. And a lot of the things that I did were going to events where I didn't want to do it, but I look back and I say, wow, I'm really grateful I did because I met this person or I learned this person or this piece of self-awareness I got. So link will be in the show notes. We'd love to have you, whether it is virtual or in person, and we're just excited to serve.
And if you have any questions, reach out to me or Kevin as soon as humanly possible. We are finalizing the roster next week. And Kev, I do want to ask you, I also had that moment of unbelievable pride and very proud of the work that we do in the world and how many hours we've put into curating and trying. I mean, we've done meetups and we've done book club and we've done one-on-one coaching with podcasters and business owners and individuals and listeners. And, we've interviewed, we've curated over the last 7 years. This is the very best of everything we've created. And I wanted to ask you how many hours you think we've put into trying to make this content. I mean, all those frameworks were created by NLU over the journey.
Oh, yes. I don't even... thousands and thousands and thousands of hours. Somebody asked me that the other day. They're like, why do you do an episode every day? Does it help you be more successful? And I said, that's not why we do it. No, we do an episode every day because if I'm going to talk about getting a little bit better every single day, the least we can do is an episode every day. I can't say, hey, get 1% better. And then here's a bunch of other places to find out how to get 1% better. We want to be the people that help. So it's that. It's the, how do we get as good at this as humanly possible so we can help as many people as possible?
Kev, you recently, I know we got to jump, but you recently went and listened to episode 40.
Oh, yeah.
Of the podcast.
Yeah.
The 1% improvements per day.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
How noticeable is it in hindsight?
From day to day, progress isn't visible. From year to year, it's impossible to miss. Again, if you listen to episode 40 and then you listen to episode 41, imagine this. If you are such a diehard family member of NLU and you go listen to every single episode back to back to back to back, you will not notice that big of a difference. But if you go listen to episode 100 and then you listen to episode 500 and then you listen to episode 1000 and you listen to episode 1500, it's going to be night and day. Yeah. That's the best way to put it. If you listen to all of them, it's the temperature's only going up by 1 degree each time. You don't really notice. You don't
Not
really
even.
notice that
it's
much.
like 0.1 degree.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
It's wild. So
yeah,
thank you for that. And that's the same with Next Level Live. We went back to old presentations and we're like, whoa, look how far we've come. So that's been the coolest part of this whole journey. Honestly, it's just the growth over time. When you look back, it's absolutely wild, and that's why we do what we do. So,
speaking of do what we do, I've done it again where I don't know what tomorrow's episode is. Please grace over the next couple weeks because live event season is just heavy. So yeah, I don't know what we're doing tomorrow. I will think on it and try to bring the most wonderful topic. Do I know what it'll be? No, I don't. But also you'll know whether or not I got fast food or not. Or just went to bed. And that's worth sticking around for.
I would say probably not. But
Probably not. Yeah, I would agree with that. As always, we love you. We appreciate you. Grateful for each and every one of you. And at NLU, we don't have fans. We have family. We will talk to you all tomorrow.
keep driving to 5. Next Level Nation.